Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is Kim Warner with Healing Affirmations for the Soul. Last week we talked about values. I brought up a subject on values. You can go back, or I'll try to remember to put that link in the description down here so you can listen to it. But we're in a season where many of us are reevaluating meaning reflecting or going over what our value is. One of the things that we can remember is to look at our physical value and our spiritual value, because when we put them together, then there's a balance. Um, Oftentimes, the reason why our value is off balance is because we may not have understood that we needed physical and spiritual balance. And what that means is that someone who is spiritual, they will need spiritual and physical balance. Someone who is physically in a thought of value will need spiritual value, because both of those two bring us into what is called divine order. So, according to Webster, compromise is what happens. Now, Webster didn't say it, but I looked up the definition because I like to go back and refresh my mind and others, that we can go and redefine things, even if we learn them in school. We can redefine so we can get a adult look at the words. So the words begin to say something more than when we defined them in school. You know what I'm saying? So now you're an adult. You once was a child, now you're an adult. Go back and relearn, rethink, and reuse situations. So the compromise says an agreement or a settlement of a dispute that is reached by each side making concessions, an ability to listen to two sides in a dispute or devise a compromise acceptable. Now, oftentimes, there can be an argument, there can be disagreements, but the reason why they're happening is because one is not listening to the other. I believe that one of the things we have to look at is the way that we all think. We all think differently. And if we think differently, that means that listening is key. That means that I learn how to understand what others are saying that are not in the same mindset as me. Like, someone that gets me is not always going to be the person that's going to be able to help me. They may tell me I'm right when I'm wrong. Someone who doesn't think like me will challenge me just with their personality to do better or to think better. They could even challenge me to do wrong, but it's up to me and you to look at what the challenge is really saying, because every situation we have is a learning moment. People teach us every moment of the day, wherever we are, at home, at work. People are teaching us how to be compromised or to be valued. In our relationships, marriages, we are learning how to be compromised or to let each other know the value that we have, and it's going to be by our actions, right? So another way to look at compromise is accept standards that are lower than our desire or your desire. So what is your standards? You got to set your standard. And I believe that as a child, you have a standard. Your parents have standards for you. As a teenager, you have standards and your parents have standards for you. But even as an adult, you have to reevaluate what your standards are, because there could be some things that you just don't want to handle or deal with, or some things that you need to deal with now, like parents making decisions for children and they grow up. Your parents can't make the decisions when you get married for you anymore. I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to get into anybody's family or say that that's the case. I'm just making an example, because if you get married, decisions have to be based between you and the person you're married to, because that's where your foundation is now. And that's where growth and maturity is going to come from, right? That's how you're going to respect each other, and there will be no compromise there. So, the value, one of the most powerful ways to grow spiritually is to raise your values to a higher level and translate those higher values into action in all that you do. Values represent the essence and quintessence of knowledge acquired by humanity, or the millennium. I mean, all around us. Values give us the knowledge for growth, development, accomplishment, and never ending progress. Values are spiritual skills that direct our energies to every higher level of accomplishment. So if we are just thinking physically that, you know, I'm doing something in the community, and what I'm doing physically is enough. Sometimes I have to add prayer with it. Sometimes I have to meditate on what I'm going to do before I do it, and God will give us a push to go on and do it, as to say that it will be successful. Another thing to look at is when we look at relationships, the value. If someone in your relationship is not valuing you, it could be friendship, it could be mother and father, it could be brothers and sisters, then it's time for you to look at that from an authentic perspective, which means truthful perspective. If someone is, constantly putting you down and they're not lifting you up, they may have low self-esteem, their ego is more present than God is, then that means that you're going to have to look at your value and how you're going to raise your value in that friendship, in that marriage, in that relationship, even with parents, because I hear a lot of people talk about narcissism. And I believe that everyone in the world could use an understanding of narcissism. I'll talk about that another time. And many people are discussing narcissism on YouTube. But I believe that narcissism is being used as a crutch to hurt people. I believe that narcissist does hurt people. A narcissist can hurt a person until they become stronger. There are people with victim mentalities that are discussing narcissism as if the person that has that trait that they were connected to is the only thing that lives, or the only person. That, in fact, is not true. We can put away the word narcissism when we begin to look at our spiritual value. We don't have to fight back with words or talk to people or write posts about narcissism. I mean, you can if you want to help others to understand, because there is a lot of people that don't understand that they don't have to be connected to narcissistic energy. They don't have to be connected to anything that does not treat them right. The word compromise, it means that we come together at the table and begin to work together in whatever we do. Marriage, family, friendships, at work, wherever the compromise is taking place, because it takes two to make something work right. 3 people create a team, and teams are in families. So narcissism can be in any human being that believes that they're the greatest in the world. Narcissists are greedy. Narcissists believe that they're the only thing that matters. They're very self-centered. And so this is a trait that we all can have. But on a spiritual level, we grow out of those when we become spiritually, adept. So I'll say it again, a narcissist is in everyone, because it's a human trait to glorify yourself. The devil glorified itself. That's why he had to leave heaven, remember? So let's think on these things, and let's become wiser, and let's value ourselves, and let's come out of even the victim mentality. Let's look at how we can be, authentic and better for ourselves, not for others. That means that we have to reflect on how we want to, build ourselves in this day and time. So, affirmation for the day. And, before I even came on, I was thinking, and the word came up, and that's why I began to write and talk about it. And so, are you in a situation that says where you need to make a compromise, or are you compromising too much? This card asks you to review your position and to be sure to find a solution that takes the needs of all parties into account, including yourself. So you matter. You matter, but it's not a bogus matter. It's not a pushover matter, that you have. It is a kind and gentle matter that says, let me step back and reevaluate myself and start presenting myself different. That means that your attitude, your behavior, your emotions about you is going to have to change. I had someone that asked me about thoughts, and thoughts create who we are. And so, if your thoughts create who you are, even as a child, you had thoughts that, someone said to you, you picked up going to school. They may not be the right thoughts for you to carry into your life, especially if you're reevaluating your value on a spiritual level. And so that means that any of those thoughts that come up in your mind, they need to be released. And that means find yourself creating a mental garbage can and throwing any words and anything that you don't care for that comes up in your mind, anything that has hurt you emotionally, throw it in that can. You would have to imagine it, of course. And I would say also, I would invite you guys to my classes so you can learn some of this information, imaging, getting rid of ideas by using your imagination, which is a spiritual component that God has given us. So here's another affirmation. So it says, open yourself to possibility. Almost everyone holds some limiting beliefs. Limiting means that you only value according to others' value, because that's what we're talking about. Do not compromise yourself anymore. Learn how to balance yourself out. So limiting beliefs put you at a limit about yourself. These perceptions block us from receiving the intimate and the infinite support of the universe. This card is an invitation to reassess and to look beyond these limitations and to recognize that in opening yourself to possibility, you automatically invite positive change into your life. So possibilities also help you to create healthy compromise. You become of value to everyone and yourself, not just to everyone. Value to yourself first, and then value will run over to others, and you will be balanced by understanding that you matter. Okay, so you guys have a wonderful weekend and be blessed. Bye-bye.